Lemon. You're not looking?
Back out in a second. Trying to find the best spot to take you guys to a little fun. I'll just stand here.
Beautiful buildings.
I know.
It's gorgeous.
Okay. Our group is coming down.
A little sunny.
This feels like everyone. Are we good? Yeah. This feels good. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Wilson, and I'll be your tour guide today. Welcome to Princeton. I'm a senior in the neuroscience department with a certificate or minor in African American Studies. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. Is anyone here from Texas?
Oh.
No one ever is from Texas, actually.
But there's a
That counts! Yay!
and there's a neuroscience.
Neuroscience majors, Texas people-ish. It all works out, guys. Anyways, so I'm from Houston, Texas, but now I live here. I guess I have for the last 4 years. Couple things about me on campus. Outside of being a tour guide, I am one of our program managers for our events committee. We host events for the entire student body every single week, free of charge. They're super fun. Last night we hosted a Halloween event. The week before, actually the night before, we hosted a painting event with an artist. It was super cool. I'm also one of our share peers, which is our sexual harassment and assault advising resources and education center. And so basically that's just making sure that all of our students on campus feel comfortable and making sure that we're teaching students about sexual harassment, assault, all those things, and having a space and a person for anyone who's a survivor to come to if they experience some type of harm on campus or off campus. Regardless, we just want to make sure it's a safe space for everyone and that we're educating our students on that. And then I do a couple of other things here and there. I'm a part of an eating club that we'll talk about later. But yeah, I think that's everything about me. Logistics of the tour, it'll be about an hour long. We are going to use stairs today. Actually, let me ask. Just for clarity purposes, we are supposed to use stairs, but if no one wants to use stairs at all, just let me know and I will go the accessible route as well. At any point, if you can't hear me, go like this. I promise I will get louder. I think that's everything. Let's get a feel for our group while everyone's going up the staircase. I'm really far from the application, so are you guys sophomores in high school? No? Okay, no. seniors in high school? 1. Juniors in high school. Yes. Okay, juniors in high school. And then any freshmen? Really early starters? No. Okay. Mostly juniors in high school. Any alumni? No one can correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, my cousin is, but I don't know.
But
You'd have to
so
speak
we're
for her.
good. Okay, let's go this way. I promise I won't lie to you guys in the store. I promise. But just to ease you. Behind us right here is Blair Arch. It's our largest, or one of our 2 largest arches on campus. It's also home to one of my favorite traditions at Princeton, Arch Sings. It's when one of our a cappella groups comes and they just like sing late at night, like 10:30, 11 p.m. at night. It has really great acoustics, so kind of you'll hear it if I talk through them. It's really nice just to come back from like library studying or wherever and hear all of our a cappella groups kind of like angelically singing on your walk home. And then it used to be the entrance to campus, but it no longer is. And there are like residential colleges and housing above it. It's a very, very nice area. It's also really pretty. I'm sure you see it in pictures.
Yeah. How is it getting from class to class?
So easy.
Yeah?
A lot. This is probably one of the most walkable campuses you'll go on. We just banned scooters. So pretty much the only option is to walk or to bike. And then you guys can just kind of stand around here. But like I would say the longest walk, the question was how easy is it to get from class to class? The longest walk you'll probably have on this campus is if you are an unfortunate soul who's placed in Forbes Residential College and you happen to be an engineering major, which is way across over there, you might find yourself doing a 15-20 minute walk every morning. But it's pretty and it's nice, so it's like a nice walk. And I lived in Forbes and it's not that bad. Okay, so we are in kind of the courtyard of one of our residential colleges. We're in Holder Courtyard, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the residential college system and your first 2 years here on campus. So as an incoming first year, you'll be randomly assigned to one of our 7 residential colleges. We are building an 8th one that should be open in 2027 in Central Campus. But for right now we have 7 open, 2 of which are brand new and opened, I believe, a year or 2 ago. This is going to fall. Okay. But you'll be randomly assigned to one of our 7 colleges. They're all functionally the same. So students will eat there, they'll sleep there. They all have different amenities that I'll talk about. But you really do kind of build this tight-knit community immediately. I lived in Forbes, which is the one that I mentioned is down across the street, a little bit further down. But it's really nice. I love being in Forbes. It's a very tight-knit community. This is one of them right here. It's Maddie Hall, and then Rocky is right next door. There's literally no rhyme or reason to why you're picked in a residential college. It's not by honors, because that's not a thing. It's not by majors. It's not anything. It's just actually randomly selected, I promise. So like I said, students will sleep in all of these residential colleges. So our dorm rooms range from like a single, typically to a quad. We do have doubles and triples in some of the residential colleges. And I always get the question, can you pick your first year roommate? And the answer is no. So we ask you guys to fill out a form saying like, how do you like to study? Do you study in your room? Are you clean? Are you messy? Do you like the lights on? Are you loud? Do you like to listen to music? Be as honest as possible. I know everyone likes to think that they're super, super clean, and everyone's not super clean, and that's okay. But in our residential colleges, we have people who will literally hand select and pair roommates together. And there's very, very few roommate horror stories. My first year roommate was my roommate up until this very year. And I'm a senior, so we lived together all 3 years. I'm living off campus now, so we couldn't be roommates, which is really sad, but she's still one of my best friends on this campus. And I'll say it's a great way to meet people that you wouldn't have met otherwise. I'm neuroscience, pre-law, she's English, pre-med. Our paths would have never crossed ever, but it's very nice to like have that experience. Yes?
Do all freshmen live on campus, or do some commute?
Great question. So the question is, do all first years live on campus? Yes. So all of our first years will live in one of our 7 residential colleges, and 96 to 98% of students will live in a on campus all 4 years. So you will have guaranteed housing all 4 years while you're here, if you'd like to. We'll talk about upperclassmen housing options later in the tour, but that anything down from where we started our tour was upperclassmen housing, basically. That all of that pretty building that it was kind of like, what is this? That was all housing. Yeah, great question. But so outside of like dormitories, they all have like physical amenities that are attached to them. So some of them have theaters, some of them have dance rooms, some of them have one of them has a play studio, which is really cool. You are not bound to only going to the cool amenities of your residential college. You can go to any of them. Like I said, I was in Forbes, but I will go to clay classes and pottery wheel classes at NCW all the time. It's a really cool way to just hang out on a Wednesday night. But yes, I think he's fine. Okay. And then outside of dormitories and those physical amenities, there's dining, which I think is a huge portion of why people make decisions and eating. So your first 2 years here, you are on the unlimited dining hall planned meal. That means you have unlimited breakfasts, lunch, dinner, and every single residential college has a dining hall attached to it. Again, you are not bound to the dining hall of your residential college. So for me, when I was in neuroscience classes all the way down, if I had to get to Forbes for lunch, there's no way I'd make it to my next class. So instead, I would typically opt for Whitman or NCW, which has dining halls right next to the neuroscience building. So that kind of makes sure that everyone can go and eat all their meals, and they can kind of pick and choose maybe where they want to eat. And all of the dining halls are very, very dietary friendly. They're very accommodating. And we have halal options, vegan options, vegetarian options, dairy-free, every option at every single meal in every single dining hall. Any questions about food? I love food, so I'll answer them. Okay, cool. So outside of the physical amenities, there's also kind of what I call human amenities who are here to help you guys. We really want to make sure your first 2 years here, you're kind of acclimating yourself and feeling more comfortable with being an independent human being in college. So we have, I'm going to throw out what seems like an alphabet soup, but I'll break it down for you. So every single residential college has, and every single student will have an RCA, an ARCA, an RDS, a PAA, a DSL, a Dean of Studies. It's a lot. Keep going. You have a faculty advisor. You will also have a college head and a college dean. That's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Let's break it down. So you have an RCA and ARCA. That's a residential college advisor and assistant residential college advisor. And some residential colleges, they work together, and some residential colleges, they work separately, advising first years and sophomores, just making sure that you feel a little bit more acclimated as an independent person. They're there for any mental questions that you might have, questions about what it's like to be a student on campus. They're a junior or senior, so they're only 1 or 2 degrees away from you, and they've gone through this whole process not that long ago. Your RCAs and your ARCAs live very close by. They typically live across the hall or maybe 1 floor down, and they advise 15 to 13 students who live near you, which is called a Z group. Then you have a RGS, it's a resident graduate student. They're grad students here on campus. They live in your residential college again, and they're just there to answer any questions about graduate school, honestly, and host study breaks. It's really nice to have someone there to answer those questions from the get-go. And then you have a PAA, which is a peer academic advisor, and they are there to answer all of your academic questions, is this professor good? Am I on the right track? What is this class? What is this class? They're trained in doing that, and they're also a junior or senior and only 1 or 2 degrees away from you. So then you have kind of adults that parallel all of those roles in the juniors and seniors. So you have a director of studies who's kind of like your PAA, but they're an adult. They're there to kind of help you academically, answer any questions, make sure you're going to graduate on time. I tried to get out of math. My director of studies said no. So it's kind of those type of questions. You just don't know what you're doing. Also, if you need an extension on a paper, your director of studies can be someone that's very helpful for you. Your director of student life kind of parallels your RCA. They're there for you kind of more mentally in support. They go study breaks for all of our students on campus, and they just want to make sure that they're getting to know you. It's just someone who's in charge of making sure you're having a good experience here on campus. And then you have your college head and college dean, who are there again just kind of as another resource for you. I had a friend who had her college dean on speed dial, and they would just go and chat and talk just because they grew up in the same town. So you're really not just another person that they have to deal with, it's someone that they want to talk to and get to know. And then a faculty advisor. So that's someone who's kind of more in your area of study. and they can like help you actually within that academic field that you're interested in. That was a lot. Any questions? Okay. Hopefully that was explained. We're gonna get a specific question. You can also ask me like as we're walking from stop to stop.
How do you find it? Like, how is it when you first started?
Like the major or the department? 'Cause I think those are a little bit.
The major.
Thank you. The major, I love it. I honestly can't say a bad thing about it, except that they make me code, which I don't like coding. You don't have to code. You have to take like 2 coding classes. But it's a really cool major. I did not come in neuroscience. I came in public policy. Quickly realized that I did not like those classes, and I switched to my neuro classes. I was like kind of doing them at the same time. Realized I was so much more excited to go to my neuro classes every day than I was to go to any of my public policy classes. And ever since then, I've loved it. Honestly, like it's a smaller major, it's pretty new as well. And I think like it's so nice to have a group of people who like, it's a really small major, so like it's nice to have a group of people who just like want to talk to you and like get to know you. But at the same time, it's very interesting because everyone in neuro has very different reasons for being a neuroscience major. Which is also cool because all of our theses that we'll talk about later are very different. One of my closest friends is also a neuroscience major, and she's more interested in like user experience and like how we can use the brain to like create different models of like marketing and things like that. And I do all of my research in addiction policy, so very, very different things, but it's a great major. Okay. Behind me is Morrison Hall, and we're going to talk a little bit about financial aid and admissions. However, you guys just got a really in-depth rundown in there, so I'm going to kind of gloss over it. You guys they told you all about financial aid, right? Grants, not loans, need blind, need based, yes, all those things. Cool. I'm not going to repeat that then. They told you about the bill estimator. No. Yes? Bill estimator? No. Okay. So online, there is a bill estimator, which I think is super helpful. So if you just type in Princeton bill estimator, it'll ask you to like put in some information, gross annual income, whatever that means, all of the tax things that I should know as a 21-year-old. But they'll ask you to do that. They will not hold it, and then they'll spit out what they think your like Princeton price tag will look like. When I was like applying to schools and picking schools, I thought Princeton, that was a really good tool for my parents. And then additionally, my parents had the best experience with their financial aid office. It's a very interesting thing is that I think they hire the nicest people in the world in the Princeton financial aid office. We were all talking about this before the tour. They're so sweet. They will make accommodations for pretty much anything. They schedule calls. Like I've never seen a financial aid office as nice and warm people as the Princeton financial aid office. But yes, so feel free to talk to them, email them. They're great people if you have any specific questions about them. And then in terms of admissions, we're a holistic admissions process. Like we look at every aspect of your application. Nothing outweighs one or the other. I think my biggest tip with admissions, because I always get a question about this, is like, basically, if you took off your name of your application and you gave it to someone that you cared about and loved and they know you super well, and you gave a stack of applications with no names on them, they should be able to pull out your application and say, this is absolutely like whoever this person is. Because that means that you've really told application that's true to who you are and who other people see you as who love you. Any questions about applications, admissions, or financial aid that I can answer? I didn't think so. You guys got a really in-depth detail about this. We're actually just gonna go do a history stop. About admissions a little bit more. There will be an admissions officer at the very end of the tour back to where we end it. But I do believe, I know she was talking when I walked in about how we don't release admission stats anymore. I think it's a great move by Princeton. It honestly releases a lot of the pressures of feeling like there is one average or typical Princeton student in Princeton experience. And that's just simply not true.
Okay.
There's no minimum score that we expect anyone to get. I guess there is a maximum score because that's just by the nature of scores. Mm-hmm. But honestly, your application should just be who you are. There's nothing that they're looking for. It's more important that you are passionate about the things you do. than doing things that you think they're looking for you to do, if that makes sense.
What are all these buildings?
Oh, great question. So this building straight right there is Alexander Hall, which is an auditorium. It is our largest auditorium on campus. We'll often invite people to come and talk to us. Most recently, Angela Davis came and talked to us. Last year, SZA came, and Bill Clinton and George Bush. Who else has come? Hassan Minaj has come, Trevor Noah. They'll come and talk to us about a ton of different things. It can be things from voting to like politics to their experiences in life. And so that's that building. Stanhope Hall is honestly just an administrative building. That building over there, it's also just an administrative building. But if you guys know who Aaron Burr is, he took his very first steps in the backyard of that yellow building. Oh, it's kind of cool. Cool, they're moving. We're gonna get a great spot.
Oh yeah, with the what is this? Tigers?
Yes. These are our beautiful tigers.
Cute. This is so cute.
Okay.
Stand there.
Love the tigers. So behind me right now is Nassau Hall. If you've like looked up Princeton at all, I'm sure you've seen this beautiful, beautiful building behind me. I think they told you guys this. Does anyone know when Princeton was founded? There are wrong answers, but it's okay to
1800s.
18 something, no? Any other guesses? 1796, 17 something. You guys are like one number off. 1746. So we were founded in 1746 in Elizabeth, New Jersey. That way, we moved here to Princeton, New Jersey in 1756. In 1756, this beautiful building behind me was the largest academic building in all the 13 colonies and the largest building in the New Jersey colony. That's because it was the entire school. This is where students slept, they ate, this is where professors taught. Everything was here. If office hours were a thing back then, they were also in this building. This building holds a lot of Princeton history. But outside of some Princeton history, it also holds some American history. During the American Revolutionary War, the Brits occupied this building, thinking that there's no way America would fire off the money if it's going to destroy the building for them. They were wrong. George Washington marched his troops up and fired 2 cannonballs into the rear end of Nassau Hall. One entering what was their prayer room at the time, decapitating a painting of King George II. And the second one leaving a dent in the left rear end of Nassau Hall on the back side. So some say that foretold the end of the American Revolutionary War. I wouldn't go that far, but like if you want to go that far, that's okay. But it is a really cool experience that I've kind of, one of our tour guides have talked about this, that Princeton has a very long and rich history. And it's nice because history never ends. So now being a Princeton student, you're part of that very long, rich history that also bleeds into American history. Any historical questions? Reminder, I'm a neuroscience major. Great, again. If you guys look behind you though, and look through those beautiful, beautiful gates, you're now looking at the heart of downtown Princeton. So that gate is Fitz-Randolph Hall, or Fitz-Randolph Gate. So Princeton itself is around 18 square miles. It's a pretty small, quaint town. Being from Houston, Texas, this is a huge difference. But there's everything you could possibly need as a college student in Princeton. There's food, there's banks, or at least 2 banks, there's coffee, there's shopping, there's literally everything we need. It's really nice to just have it only steps away. But if you somehow do get a little tired of what we call the orange bubble, there is a train ride away to get to New York, Philly, and all of those other cities in the eastern area of America, which is a very weird thing. Being from Texas, I don't really understand that, but it's kind of cool. So we have the shortest commuter railroad on campus, down south, in the northeastern area. It goes from Princeton to Princeton Junction and back to Princeton, Princeton Junction. And then once you get to Princeton Junction, you can take the New Jersey Amtrak. If anyone here is from New Jersey, I'm sure you know what that is. You get to New York, Philly for about $35 round trip. It's an hour and a half max train. It's really easy. I do it all the time. You can go there and come back in one day. So it's kind of nice to just be able to be only fingertips away from a big city and be at a suburban campus. So any questions about that? Okay, cool. So some more things about the town that I like to talk about. One of my favorite things about Princeton town is that there is a commitment to small businesses. So we don't have many large corporate chains on Princeton's campus or on town. There's a Starbucks, and there used to be a Kilwins, and that's pretty much it. But with that being said, Princeton University in the last couple of years has made an effort to build that connection with the town. So we have these call points now. So when you're on the dining hall plan, like I mentioned earlier, you'll get 150 call points, and it's a $1 to 1 call point ratio per semester, so you get $300 total to spend on Nassau Street with some of our participating restaurants. A lot of them participate. So it's really nice and kind of bridges that financial gap of how some people can't afford maybe going to Nassau Street with their friends, and some people can. We want to make sure that everyone can go and experience food off of this campus, which I really, really love. If you're like me, it'll be like the last week of school and you'll forget that you have this, and now you have 7 coffees every single day. So, each year.
Ooh.
Well, perfect timing. Okay. A couple of more things that I like to talk about when we talk about the town is just that there's also a bus that takes people to like, the mall or to the grocery store or anything on the weekends free of charge. So we don't allow cars. I get that question all the time. There's no need for you to really have a car on campus. If you absolutely need one for like medical reasons or other reasons, Princeton will allow that for certain circumstances, but as a majority, we don't need cars, we don't need one, and we don't allow them, especially for first year students. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to say. I'll end the tour with a little bit of traditions that we have. So you can tell if a person is a student because they will not walk through the Mr. Gate of Miss Randolph. There is a tradition that if you walk through the Mr. Gate, you will not graduate with your class or in 4 years. What? But you get to walk through the gate 2 times as a Tiger. Your first time is as the first year. You walk in through the gate with the entire Princeton community and Princeton University cheering you on. It's a really, really sweet tradition. And then as a senior, you walk out the gate, kind of starting your life as in the real world. It's really sad. I have to do it in a couple months.
Aww.
No questions, please. No, it's okay. I think it's a really sweet tradition. I'm not excited. I did cry on a tour once. Any questions about that?
So besides the paw to dollar ratio, is it also like, because I know some colleges, they give like discounts within like, I guess the parameters of the school. Do they do that?
Some restaurants do that and some restaurants don't. It's typically pretty affordable, but yeah, some restaurants do. I know a couple of our like coffee restaurants do, and some of the like more nice sit down restaurants potentially don't.
Okay.
But it just depends on where you're going. Also, I've made an effort to eat my way through the entirety of Princeton town. So if you guys need recommendations for dinner afterwards, please let me know. I have a list.
Okay.
Are you guys, any questions before we head this way? Okay, let's head.
It is beautiful though.
It is a gorgeous campus. You guys came right at the right time. It's November 1st and somehow 80 degrees.
I know.
I hope it stays this way forever.
Yikes, maybe.
Is this a
but
bad
it's nice
thing?
for us. And it's nice for me as a Texas girl who hates the winter.
True.
So, it's perfect.
So what building is that over there?
I forget what that building is called actually, but it is one of, like they do classes there in the humanities.
Oh.
A lot of language classes, maybe a Spanish class here or there.
Got it. And I'm assuming this, is that a bell?
Yes.
Is that like a traditional thing?
It's a memorial for 9/11.
Oh, nice.
One of my favorite past traditions that we used to have. You see that bell right there, or kind of, there's actually no longer a bell there, but there used to be a bell in that tower, and so it used to be a tradition for our first years would try and climb the Nassau Hall, and if they could get the clapper out of the bell, because it would clap signifying like the start of the year, they said they would push back school a day, but you couldn't get caught. So at like 11 p.m., like the night before school would start, you'd see first years trying to scale the walls of Nassau Hall. One day someone did indeed get injured, it's inevitable, and it's no longer a tradition. There's no bell there anymore. Bell still rings, but it's an audio track of the actual bell from years ago. But don't climb the walls, even though people did. So behind me right now, we're gonna talk, or this is East Pine Hall, or the Adlinger Center for Humanities, very hard name. And we're gonna talk a little bit about languages, a brief overview of academics that we'll go into depth later, and then study abroad programs. So at Princeton, we have 36 different majors, 6 of which fall into the BSE category, and 31 of which fall into the AB category. The reason that number doesn't add up is because COS, or computer science, falls into both AB and BSE. So you kind of pick which one you like. That means that things like mechanical and aerospace engineering, operations, research, financial engineering, anything with engineering in the title is that BSE category, but things like physics, neuroscience fall into AB along with the English and the history and public policy. It's a little bit different. I know at a lot of schools a physics major might be a BS degree, but here it is an AB degree. You guys can come a little bit closer if you'd like. You don't have to, but you can. So those are 2 different types of degrees. There's not a huge difference between the 2. But it's just about like what you would prefer. For the BSE majors, we'll talk a little bit more in depth. They have a core list of classes they must take. Things like mathematics, there's a chem class, a physics class, there's intro level science classes that are a little bit more transferable for all engineering. Versus for AB majors, we do this thing called distribution requirements that I'll go into, just kind of encouraging you to step outside of your comfort zone and get a well-rounded education, but it's not as rigorous or strict of a course schedule as the BSE majors do have. Any questions about that? Because I think it's kind of a key part. We also don't allow double majors. Instead, we ask you to pick one of our 63 minors or certificates to kind of parallel or figure out what you really are interested in. So a lot of times people ask me about like business major, like I want to do business. We don't have a business major here. Instead, you might find yourself doing economics as your major and then picking like a finance or an entrepreneurship certificate or minor. And just kind of forces you to pick like what you're actually interested in, which I really appreciate. But I think the difference between our AB and BSE majors is that AB has a language requirement and BSE does not have a language requirement. The BSE majors say it's because their second language is Java. I don't know if any of you guys are coders here, but it is very much the second language. I took my first coding class last year. So hard. It was insane. But for the rest of our AB majors, we all have a language requirement. That's because we expect people to show proficiency in a second language. It's very hard to like make sure that the world is all together in one place if we can all only speak English. So we want to make sure that we are operating between and like making sure that we are in one nation and that our people or like our AB majors can speak or at least can understand a different language. That also does include American Sign Language, which I actually really love. Okay, so a little bit about that language requirement. We offer over 25 different languages. That includes things from Swahili, French, Italian, American Sign Language. And so you can kind of pick and choose whatever you're interested in. There's definitely a language there. I had a friend who was like, I want to take this specific African dialect language. We didn't have it. We do have it now because she found someone who could teach it. Really cool thing. And then additionally, if you already speak a second language or you test out with an AP, an IB, an A-level test, you can test out of that requirement. It is possible, or just place out of it. You can also place into a higher level if you'd like to still continue to take a language here at Princeton. Any questions about language requirements? Okay. You can also take a language in that country, like abroad. So you can take French in France, or at least I had a friend who did that. And that leads us into our study abroad programs. So we have 4 different types of study abroad programs that I want to go over right now. I'm going to talk about them in a little bit of a chronological order. So first, we have the Novogratz Bridger Fellow Program. So if you get into Princeton, they're going to start asking you, like, do you want to be a Novogratz Bridger Fellow? Answer should obviously be yes. Well, it's up to you. But basically, you'll go to one of our 5 host countries. That could be Senegal, China, Bolivia. We changed them up a little. And you're just immersing yourself in the culture. You're doing volunteer work, and you're staying with the host family. You have no academic requirements during that 1 year, and it is a gap year. So you guys would be coming in 2030? 2030?
26, right?
26.
2026?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Juniors.
Oh,
She's
wait,
junior.
I mean to be graduating Princeton.
Oh.
I was like, that's not possible. that's next year. Okay, so you'd be graduating Princeton like 2030. You'd graduate 2031. So it is a full gap year. But that's so funny. I did not explain myself well. Sorry, guys. But so it is a full gap year. They don't expect you to pay anything. So if you're on financial aid, this goes for all of our study abroad programs. We don't expect you to pay an additional cost for for study abroad, because we know how important they are, and we want all of our students to experience the study abroad program. We think they add a lot to your career here on campus, and they add a lot to your intellectual curiosity on campus. With that being said, that does go for all of our programs that I'll go talk about for. So that's for the Spread Your Fellow program. The next one that I'll talk about are IIPs, which are our International Internship Experiences, our programs. If you want to go abroad and get work experience, IIPs are kind of perfect for you. So IIPs are just going to one of or any of the different countries, honestly, and working in a specific field that you're interested in. I worked in global, domestic violence and global health in Cape Town, South Africa 2 summers ago. I had a friend who worked in architecture in Argentina, nonprofit work in Wales. I had a friend who did physics research in Australia. So there's pretty much, you can do wherever you want to be in pretty much any industry that you like. And if you can't find one, the IIP office will help you find or create one in a place and in an industry that you'd like to do. They're really great experiences, and honestly, you will not pay a dime again. They'll pay you. So when I went to Cape Town, they paid for my flights, my housing, my food, my daily personal experiences and expenses. They will pay everything, because again, we don't want financial burdens to be the reason you're making decisions here on this campus. So that's a little bit about IIPs. And then the last one that I really want to talk about are kind of our global seminars and study programs. So that's when you're going abroad and you're working, just doing academic work. That's typically for a semester, a year, or a summer. And you're just taking a class at a place abroad at a university that's affiliated with Princeton or somehow or some way, with other Princeton students. And so a lot of students will choose to do that summer option, because it is kind of sad to miss an entire semester or a year here on campus. We only have 4, but I do have friends who have gone abroad and done classes in Argentina for an entire semester. I had a friend who actually just left this semester. She went to London. She's coming back for her senior spring. I'm
Nice.
happy for her, but I'm also sad that she left. But yes, so you have those kind of options, and it's a really nice experience. And the other thing I'll say is that 60% of our students will go on some type of significant foreign exchange or program during their 4 years here. It is a very, very popular thing, because it adds so much to your Princeton experience, truthfully. Any questions?
Yeah. Actually, if you do go abroad, how does it work with the dorms? Like, is your dorm held for you, or?
Oh my gosh, great question. So if you go abroad in the fall semester, when you come back, you will have a dorm held for you. And if you go abroad in the spring semester, you'll have a dorm, obviously, and then your dorm will kind of go, because you'll be abroad for the spring semester. It'll still exist. We always have leftover dorms, so we don't fill all of our dorms to capacity. For some reasons, maybe one dorm gets flooded or something, there's always going to be a dorm open. So there's a space for you to move in if you end up in that place abroad and you go, I don't want to be here anymore, I want to come back. There's a way. You'll find housing.
And do you have to move out all your stuff when you do go abroad?
I think if you're going abroad for the spring semester, yes. Because the expectation is that you're not going to come back. You'll probably come back in June or July, which school's over by then. Okay. Great question. Any other questions about study abroad, languages, or anything I've mentioned at the very beginning to now? Okay, let's walk through. You guys Oppenheimer? No.
No, not yet.
A couple people.
But I do want to see it.
You guys should see it if you want to. So Oppenheimer himself did not teach here at Princeton. He he worked at the Institute of Advanced Studies, which is a little bit down the road that way. But if you have seen the movie, there's about a 10-second clip of Oppenheimer and Matt Damon's character walking through this area right here that we're about to walk through. It's probably one of, in my opinion, the prettiest areas we have on campus.
Wow, yeah.
That day that they filmed, I was a freshman here. I'll never forget it. They closed off this entire area. Matt Damon and Cillian Murphy and who else?
Really nice.
Emily Blunt, they were all here, and everyone pretended class didn't exist, and we all came to watch them do their 10-second scene. It was honestly a great experience.
Good to know.
It's very hard to replicate Princeton's campus. So pretty much anytime you'll see a film with our campus in it, it actually was filmed here.
Really leaky. Yeah. So beautiful. Woman in that minutes. All of a sudden, she doesn't want to be in the film.
That's okay. I do that sometimes.
Got you. So pretty. Is this a church?
Yes, we'll talk about that.
Oh, nice.
That is our chapel.
I love it. Lexi, they have a chapel.
Great. Okay, this lovely building right here is Firestone Library. So it goes 3 floors up, an additional 3 floors in that little tower, and 3 floors all the way down, which means that you're probably standing on like some students studying books, all those things. It goes all the way out. It's massive. It's one of our 9 libraries on campus, and it is our largest library on campus. There's over 2 million books in that building right there, and 70 miles of shelving. So if I ask one of you guys to walk to New York and the other to walk the shelves of Firestone, I think you see where this is going. The person who walked the shelves of Firestone would finish later, just because that's how many miles of shelving there is. But if you cannot find the book that you need in that 2 million books, it is possible to get a book from Cornell or Yale or Harvard or NYU and have it delivered to Firestone, and you drop it back off later. I actually turned in my overdue Cornell books last week. So it is work to do. You can do that, which is really nice. But we'll talk a little bit about the library system and independent study here on campus. So continuing with Firestone, there's also our rare books and special collections that I really like to talk about. And so there are some crazy artifacts in this lovely library here. We have one of the oldest, or the 4th oldest Bible, the Gutenberg Bible, in there. We also have a couple of original letters, I believe, from Abraham Lincoln. We have, recently I found out that we have a historical figure, I don't know who it is, and his mistress. Their dialogue back and forth, their letters are down there.
What?
I really want to go read them. I don't think I'll understand, but I think it'll be fun to read. It's very gossipy. But yeah, so like you can go and access any of that as a Princeton student. It's really nice to just be able to go down there and see and touch a bunch of artifacts. I've had classes where you're going down there and you're touching things from the 1400s, the 1700s that are still intact, and it's honestly a very weird thing to experience, something that was created hundreds and hundreds of years ago, but if you're holding it in your hands, it's kind of great and also very interesting at the same time. But you have that access to do so if you want to in that building right there as a student, which is nice. You also will have a personal librarian on campus. So every student will have a personal librarian. We want to make sure that you feel like you can navigate that very complex library system. Again, like I said, we have this big library, and then we have subject-specific libraries. Those are the other ones. So we have a music library, we have a science and engineering library, we have an architecture library. So all of those libraries kind of have materials that are more specific towards that like subject or that topic. So the point is to say that there's ample of knowledge and research here on this campus, and for any topic that you're interested in, there's probably a book here for you or something here for you to look and delve into that topic. Any questions on libraries? Yeah.
During final times, how long does the hours of operation is for each library?
Great question. So the question is about finals times and how long the operations is. It will depend library to library, but this one typically stays open the latest. It'll stay open till 2 a.m. most days, and then on the weekends, because we think everyone should go home, it stays open till either 10 p.m. or 12 a.m. And then every single residential college has their own libraries inside of them, which is not counted in those libraries that I mentioned. And those stay open 24 hours. So I remember when I was a first year and I procrastinated a paper and I would write it the night before, which meant an all-nighter, I would just stay in my residential college library.
Cool.
So any more questions about libraries? Now we'll talk about independent study. So is anyone here looking at computer science? I wasn't either. That's okay. No one here is looking at computer science. Okay. But if anyone here was looking at computer science, you would not have a senior thesis, or you would opt, you don't have to if you do BSc computer science, it's a choice. But for everyone else, which is everyone, you guys would all have what we call a senior thesis. It looks very different major to major. So for mathematics, that might be dense 30 pages of math. For a history major, or for one of my friends who's an African American studies major, she has 130 pages that she must write. It just depends. And that can be very scary. I saw a lot of faces when I said that. But it's honestly, one, for our alumni, it's one of their most rewarding experiences that they've done on campus. And then two, you will have support starting from your first year. So as a first year, there's only one class that we make all of our students take, that is writing seminar. And that's to make sure that everyone feels like they are a scholarly writer and has the tools to do scholarly writing. So that starts very much like from the day one, or it actually might do your second semester, depending on when you're assigned your writing seminar. But the point is just to make sure we're evening the playing field for all of our students. We understand that they're coming from different backgrounds and different writing experiences, and it is a critical part of your Princeton career from there on out. So that's kind of writing seminar, but you still get to take it in a topic that interests you. We offer writing seminars in topics like political dissent, neuroscience topics. We offer things in drag race, dog's life, children's books. So it's still something that you could want to write about potentially. It's not just you writing about something random. And then for your junior year, some of the majors have what we call a junior project, and that kind of helps you start what it is, like thinking about your independent research and what you're interested in and passionate about. Some majors have one, some majors have two, some majors have zero, but that's just you kind of doing independent work for the first time and starting kind of as a foundation work for your senior thesis. And then your senior year, you will have a faculty advisor or a senior advisor or a thesis advisor who's there to kind of help you step through step with your thesis, make sure you're hitting all of the deadlines and everything you need to do. And typically there's someone who's well versed in that specific topic that you're interested in. For example, one of my friends is working on like Latin research and architecture, and so he is working not in the public policy, or his advisor is not in public policy, which is what his major is. It's instead in Latin studies. So you can kind of have that, or you might have two advisors who can work together to really make sure that they can put their knowledge together to help you best if they know how. Any questions about independent studies or theses? A lot of times they bleed over into kind of like what you do in the real world. If you know who Wendy Kopp is, or if not, she is the CEO and founder of Teach for America. Her thesis while she was here was literally just the blueprint for Teach for America. So it really does just kind of go into a lot of what you want to do in life. Ted Cruz's thesis when he was here was about constitutionalism. Michelle Obama's was about being Black at Princeton. So it's a little bit of different things, but it's all kind of what they do in life. Meg Whitman's was about like commercialism. She's the CEO of eBay. So a lot of those theses, as you see, literally lead straight into what they do in the real world. Any questions?
So for the thesis, does is it geared to like what you're majoring in, or is it something that you can randomly just choose?
Great question. So the question is your thesis geared towards what your major is in? Yes. Your thesis must be a topic that is relevant to your major, and then if you pick a minor or certificate, some of them require you to include them somehow, some way into your thesis. So that is one of those things where it's like, sometimes they're so vastly different if you're picking a minor and a major that you might struggle to find a topic that combines them two. But they will work with you to try to figure it out and see what you can do. But great question. Any other questions? Okay, let's head this way. I'm gonna walk through our chapel stop for the sake of time. Right here on our left. So that is our chapel. Princeton is a non-denominational school, which means that this chapel holds and puts on a bunch of different ceremonies for all different denominations and religions, and anyone can go to any of those different ceremonies. It is also the only building on campus that at a point in time could hold an entire student or a class population. And so it used to be where our first years would have their baccalaureate or their opening exercises, and our seniors would have their baccalaureate. Kind of this roundabout tradition that we have at Princeton, which is really nice. But now we are increasing our size and population, so it no longer does hold an entire class size anymore, which I think is actually a good thing. But back to religion. You can be as active or as inactive in religion as you would like to be. Another focal point for religion is this building right here. That's the Office of Religious Life. We have over 37 groups and clubs associated or affiliated with the Office of Religious Life. Additionally, there is the prayer rooms for our Muslim students in there. and a couple of other different things. The Office of Religious Life every single year hosts a faith speed dating event, which I think is really cool. And the point is just to have an open line of honest communication about people's faiths and like what brought them to that faith and why they like love it and why it's such a huge part of their life. And it's just kind of good to like hear other different cultures and hear things when a lot of times you grow up in a specific faith and you never get to like experience other ones, which is cool. Another focal point for Religious Life on campus is the Center for Jewish Life. We'll not see it, but it is down campus. And it's also an additional dining hall. It is a kosher dining hall for all of our students on campus. And then they host a ton of different Jewish ceremonies for students. Okay.
What's on stroll?
You guys want to come in a little closer and make like a half circle just because they're having a class outside enjoying the nice weather. Also this truck, unless it's going to park over there, is somehow going to have to like back up and probably come back this way. Okay. Cool. Where are we? We're in McCosh Courtyard. That's where we are. So we're in McCosh Courtyard. I'm going to finish my academic spiel. I kind of started earlier. 2 different types of degrees for refresher. We have the AB and the BSc. And so that again, technically 37 different majors if we're counting Coast BSc and Coast AB as different ones. 6 of them fall into the BSc, 31 fall into the AB category. Like I mentioned, BSc has a strict kind of course load of like mathematics, computer science, those intro level science classes that we kind of want everyone to have a foundation of. And then AB has distribution requirements, and that's where I'll talk about this now. So at some schools like Columbia, you have a very strict level of courses that you must take no matter what major you are. So you might be taking a physics class as a philosophy major and you have no idea why. Or some schools it's just kind of like take a class and it's kind of nice. Very different experiences. Princeton has kind of adopted this healthy middle ground, I feel. And so we have distribution areas and I describe them in buckets. So there are 8 distribution areas that you fulfill in 10 different classes. So we have things like quantitative computation and reasoning as a distribution area, or epistemology and cognition. The point is that basically you can take classes, we're encouraging you to take classes outside of your comfort zone, but still something that interests you. So for example, that QCR requirement, one of my friends was dead set on never taking a math class ever in her life at Princeton. This QCR typically looked like math or statistics classes. She somehow found a math or a QCR class that was not mathematics at all. It was like a psychology decision-making class that was super cool. So you can still take things that interest you, but it does push you outside of your comfort zone to have a more educated, well-rounded education on campus. There's a science with lab class. One of our freshman seminars is a motorcycle design and building class. So for your lab, you could literally just build a motorcycle from scratch and design it with your peers. So there are a ton of different cool classes, and honestly, the point is just like push you outside of your comfort zone. For a personal experience, when I was doing this, I took a philosophy class, a critical philosophy class for one of my distribution requirements, and I almost became a philosophy minor because I thought it was such a cool class. But I didn't because it was overwhelming the number of classes that I need to take with the 2 I already have. But it's really nice to actually get that step outside of your comfort zone. I'm also going to ask us to kind of speed in just a little so that Quinn's group can pass by. Great. And then, so to continue what we're talking about, so we have those different distribution areas, and then we have 3 different types of classes that I'm going to talk about. We have a little bit more. We also have labs and other ones, but the 3 main ones that you'll see are seminar style classes, lecture style classes, and classroom style classes. Starting with classroom style classes, they're a little bit the most similar to what you guys have in high school. 30 students, 1 professor. They typically are intro to math, intro to language classes. They either meet 3 times a week or every single day. They're not very common. Again, intro to math, intro to language classes. Next one are seminar style classes. Those are if you are interested in a specific topic, it's a person or a professor who's teaching that topic. It's 3 hours long, 1 time a week. It's very in-depth conversations with around 12 to 15 students. I think that some people really love seminar style classes and some people really hate seminar style classes. For a very long time, I hated seminar style classes, and now 3 or 4 of my classes right now is seminar style classes. So you do kind of change your academic style sometimes. And it's also just nice to get to know professors on a more intimate level in a 12 to 15 person class. And then we have what we call lecture style classes. So lecture classes are typically what you think of when you think of college. So there's McCosh 50 right there, and McCosh 10, they kind of capsize this long building right here. Has anyone seen Transformers 2?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And I haven't seen it.
I did with my son.
2, apparently Shia LaBeouf gets kicked out of McCosh 50 for some reason. I don't know why, but it's kind of cool. But McCosh 50 right there is our large lecture hall. It holds 446 people, I believe, or 446 seats. You'll pretty much never see a class with 446 people in it, or at least all 446 who show up. But those larger classes are kind of like our intro to econ, intro to computer science, or those bigger classes. Lecture style class will be taught by a professor. All of our classes are taught by professors. And then you once a week, and then you'll have a precept attached to it. It can be once or twice a week actually when they're teaching lectures, and you'll have a precept attached to it. And that's basically because we know it can be very scary to ask questions with 400 eyes staring at you. So instead we want to make sure that you're following along the material, and it'll be a preceptor who's either a graduate student or the professor themselves. And they are just gonna make sure that you're understanding everything that's going along. You can ask questions and making sure it's not midterms week and you realize you have no idea what's been happening since week 1. It's a really great way to just make sure you're grasping the material, but also another intimate conversation starter of having conversations amongst students to students, which is really cool. At Princeton, additionally, we have a very heavy undergrad focus. There is a 5-to-1 undergraduate to faculty ratio. It's probably going to be 6-to-1 in the upcoming years with the increase in students that we have, but that is the lowest in the Ivy League. We put a lot of focus on our students getting to know our professors, and I just will say from personal experience, our professors also do the same of getting to know their students. One of my closest professors, I was in class, we were talking about a paper, and I just went to go to his office hours to discuss the paper. I go to his office hours, we're chatting about the paper for maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. I decide what my topic's gonna be, it's great. And then we just start talking about how I got here, how he got here. It's around 3:59, I'll never forget, maybe 3:58, and he says, I have to kick you out. And I was like, well, that's not nice, why? And he goes, I have a Zoom call with the Vice President of the United States right now. She's waiting on the Zoom right now. I got the email that she's joined. And it's okay, it's fine, I'll leave. And I think like that's a really small moment, but it's also that he probably should have spent that entire hour prepping for his conversation with Kamala Harris. So pick and choose. But yeah, so it's really nice to just like have those professors actually still care about you and like get to know you on that level when they have so many other things that they're doing and so many cool things that they're doing right now. He's honestly really cool. He's like working with Kamala Harris right now, and he still will take the time to talk to me and kick me out of his office whenever she calls. But yeah. So it's just a personal experience to how close the professors and students are. But on top of that, I will also say with that undergraduate focus, we have a 2-to-1 undergraduate to graduate ratio. I get a question all the time, would you go to grad school here? And it wavers up and down, great school. I think we just focus a little bit too much on our undergrads to say I would come to grad school here, but it's great for me as an undergraduate. And I think you guys heard me say that earlier. We have no law school, we have no business school, we have no med school. Everything is undergraduate focused. We do have a general graduate school, and then we have a couple of pre-professional schools like our architecture, our public policy, and our engineering schools. Other than that, everything is pretty much just our general graduate program. So if you're like ever in a doctor's office and it was like Princeton Medical School, or you ever somehow get arrested and your lawyer says they went to Princeton for law school,
You know that.
you should find a new doctor and lawyer. Up to you. But that's a little bit about our undergraduate academics. Anyone have any questions about academics? I know it's a huge part of why people make decisions.
How do course selections work? Like, are it like lottery or is it like first come, first served?
Great question. So the question is, how does course selection work? So actually, yesterday, our courses were released for the next semester, and we'll do course selection by seniority. So seniors will pick first, and then we'll go down, and it's like seniors have one day, then juniors have one day, then sophomores have one day, and then freshmen, once they get here, they'll have a totally different day. So you'll pick for the next semester, and at 7 a.m. you'll kind of put all of these courses in. You'll get it approved by your faculty advisor. And then at 7 a.m. or 7:15, you get really stressed out and you press the enroll button, and pretty much you will always get the courses that you want here on this campus. I've never not gotten a course that I wanted. Maybe I didn't get it on course selection day, but I just email professors and they will always be willing to pretty much open a seat for you.
Nice.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Do you have like a time period where you can switch classes or anything like a shopping period?
Great question. So the question is about, do we have shopping period? So you have 2 weeks after the very start to kind of shop around. Some people take that really heavily. That means they're literally, I have a friend who I think enrolls in around like, well, she enrolls, you can only enroll in 6 classes, but she goes to around 15 classes during shopping period. I'm more along the lines of I've made my bed, I'm gonna lie in it now. So I just go to my 4 classes. But you have that shopping period to pick and choose whatever, and then after that shopping period ends, if you decide you might want to drop a class, you can indeed just like drop one. I think it's around $45 if you drop it after the registrar period. And then you can also have a PDF election, so you get 4 PDFs your entire Princeton career here on campus. You can use 1 per semester, and that's basically a pass, D, fail option. At a lot of schools you just have pass, fail. For some reason, you can get a D when you do PDF. Try not to do that. Just get the C+ and pass. But yeah, so there's pass, D, fail option if you like do afterwards. But there is a shopping period here. Any other questions?
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna answer this something if you want to talk about it, but is there a time period within which you have to pick a major?
Great question. So the question is there a time period to pick a major? So as an AB major, you will pick your major AB major, you'll pick your major by the end of your sophomore year. As a BSE major, you'll pick your major by the end of your first year. So it's easy. You can switch between AB and BSE. Once you are accepted to Princeton, you're accepted to Princeton. You have no tie to whatever major you put on that application. For just honesty, it's much easier to switch from BSE to AB than it is to switch from AB to BSE for the reasons of the core courses that you must take as a BSE major, and you also are supposed to elect your BSE major by the end of your first year. But you have ample time to kind of shop and pick classes until the end of your sophomore year. When I came in, I was architecture for a point in time, then I switched to CE, which is our environmental engineering major, and then I switched to public policy, and now I'm in neuroscience. So, switch as much as you like. It's whatever your heart desires until you find something that you're interested in until your sophomore year, and even after that, you can still switch majors. It's a little bit more difficult to do that. And okay, we're gonna let Alex's group pass by. We're gonna go this way. I also always get this question. I talked about those 63 certificates and minors earlier. A lot of times people ask me, do you have to pick one? You do not have to pick one. You can pretty much do as many as you'd like. I would say once you get to like 3, you might be really pushing your limits here on what you're gonna do. But I do have friends who have completed a major and 4 certificates and minors. So it's possible. I personally am just doing 1, but a lot of people will choose at least 1 or 2 certificate or minor to fulfill during their Princeton career.
Princeton will make you stay fit with all this walking.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah, my freshman year, my mom was like, I feel like you did the negative freshman 15, not the freshman 15. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also really pretty. So I like to run. So a lot of pretty running paths to where you get a little bit too mesmerized in how pretty it is, and now you're 2 miles over what you plan to run.
Yeah.
So it is a very healthy campus.
Yes, it is.
Someone is in here. So
And what about Greek life?
Actually, this stop is where we're going to talk a little bit about Greek
Oh,
life. I'll answer that question.
so nice. just war sport.
Okay. So behind me is our music library, and I'm going to combine a couple of stops in one because I can point out a lot of things here. Let's start off with our safety stop. We walked past a blue light if you saw it, but if not, I'm sure you maybe see a blue light on another campus. So I like to say there's a bike coming. I just want to let you guys maybe make a path. Or they're going to go through the grass, and I asked you guys to do nothing, not for nothing. No reason. My bad. Anyway, when I was applying to schools, I don't think safety mattered as much to me, but it mattered a lot to my mom and my dad. So this is a stop for the parents. You guys can ask me as many questions as you like. I want to make sure you feel as comfortable as possible with the safety section of Princeton. Okay, Princeton has the blue light system, like I was mentioning. So Princeton has a blue light system, like I mentioned. Basically, if you are ever in some type of need for any reason, maybe you hurt yourself or whatever, you can just press that blue light, and a Princeton police officer will be there in 60 seconds or less. I will say in my 4 years here on Princeton's campus, I have never seen a blue light be pressed. We do check to make sure that they work every single day. Not every single day, every single ever so often. I think we did a test yesterday actually. They do work. But they're rarely used. This is honestly like a very important stop, but probably our least used stop on this entire tour. Outside of the blue light system, we also have McCosh Health Center. So if anything happens, you get sick, you break an arm, all of those things, there is McCosh Health Center right down, like past, like actually across bricks. So like this building is blocking McCosh Health Center. And there's also the hospital is like down the road, 5 minutes down the road. If something actually really does happen to you, you need to go to a hospital. It's not hard. The police officers will also take you to PMC if need be. Talk a little bit about health and safety. Additionally, we have safety third dorm rooms. So everyone has a prox card. I'll show you guys mine. So it basically is just this way to get into all of our buildings here on campus. Pretty much you guys wouldn't get into a lot of the buildings without being here, especially our dorm rooms. So our dorm rooms are not only can get in with the prox, but you must get in with the additional code. So they're double locked. And if you have a roommate, you guys have two completely different codes into your room. So that means that if you drop your prox somewhere and someone picks it up and they just happen to know where you live, they still cannot get into your room because they do not know your code to get in. It's an extremely safe system. We want to make sure that all of our students feel comfortable. And I will also say that in my 21 years of life, Princeton is probably the safest place I've ever lived. I go on runs at any point in night. I don't really mind whatever time it is. And I'm always more scared of like tripping on a rock. I'm a little clumsy than I am of anything actually happening to me. But if something does happen on this campus for any reason, shape, or form, there will be a Tiger Alert sent out to all of our phones with updates on what's happening and like what our next steps should be. A couple of years, last year actually, there was a earthquake.
Oh yeah.
And I was in my room and there's a lot of construction going on. I was laying in bed. And my mug fell off of my like TV stand, and I thought that the construction trucks were just moving like really close to my door for some reason. And then I got the Tiger Alert that there was an earthquake, and I was a little bit more. It made more sense. But yeah, so you'll always get a Tiger Alert, and it'll tell you what's happening and what next steps to. Any questions about safety, especially from the parents? Let me show you guys a little bit about that. Okay, it was a huge thing for my mom. I almost went to USC. And my mom kind of vetoed it for safety purposes. So yes. Moving on to upperclassmen dining and upperclassmen housing. So we talked about those underclassmen options. So for your upperclassmen housing, we'll talk about that first. You have basically three options. Your first is to stay in the residential colleges that you were staying in for your first 2 years. It's not a very popular option, but some people do choose to do that option. The next is to go into upperclassmen housing. That's kind of like apartment style housing. They're more singles than an underclassmen housing. And it's basically just that area that I pointed to at the very beginning. That's like down where we started. And it's very similar to dorms. It is communal bathrooms for most of them. But it's really nice to have seniors and juniors and everyone kind of on campus only minutes away from each other. Instead of at other campuses where they're like kind of far apart, it does build this tight-knit community between people. When I was the first year here, my cousin was a senior, and so it was nice to just be able to just go to his room and not have to like, get in a car and go down the road. It was only 5 minutes away from where I lived. But yeah, So it's kind of upperclassmen housing. And then the last option is to live off campus. That is easily the least popular option. There's not many off-campus apartments, like I said, 18 square miles, but it is possible if you'd like to do that option instead. But yeah, so those are your 3 housing options. And then for your dining options, you have 4 options. So your first option is to stay on the dining hall plan meal like you have been. So you'll get a select number of swipes per week. You'll go into all of the dining halls as you have been your last 2 years. The next option is to join a co-op. A co-op is a group of students who kind of divvy up the task of cooking, of cleaning, of buying groceries. They eat all their meals together. There are a ton of different co-ops. There's international food co-ops, there's meat lover co-ops, there's vegetarian co-ops, vegan co-ops, international food co-ops. Very financially affordable option, very popular option amongst our seniors and juniors. The next option is to be independent. To be independent means to live in an upperclassmen area with a kitchen in it or a kitchen very close to it, and you're basically just cooking all of your meals for yourself. I will say I recently went to the grocery store and was baffled by how much groceries are. So I think that sometimes people feel as if independent is not like affordable, but Princeton tries to kind of pass that same option of like we don't want finances to be the reason you make decisions. So we do offer a stipend to any of our students who want to go independent who are on financial aid. And then the final and most popular option of them is our eating clubs. So we have around 70% of seniors and juniors who will choose to join one of our 11 eating clubs. Eating clubs are basically just these large, massive mansions on the street right there. I'll point out one to you in a second. And our seniors and juniors will eat their breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. And then on the weekends, they act as a hub of social and nightlife for all of our students on campus, not just the seniors and juniors. For context, kind of what they are, this one behind us is this black and white building, if you can kind of see it through the trees and everything. That's Terrace F Club. So 6 of those clubs have a selective sign-in process, and 5 of them have just a normal, like, you can just sign in process. And then I got a question about Greek life here on campus. So we do have Greek life technically. We have around, I don't even know. They're not registered with the campus. The campus does not acknowledge or affiliate themselves with the Greek life. And you're also not allowed to join them as a first year. So if you're in a Greek life organization as a first year, you are subject to suspension. We don't think they add a lot to society and to health, and we want to make sure that everyone's having like a safe experience here on campus. The eating clubs, to be very honest, are like every time I talk to a student or in a different school, they're like, that's so safe. They're walks away from campus, so we're not expecting you to get in a car, you're not Ubering anywhere, you're not going to get behind the wheel incapacitated at all, and they all must have at least like 5 bouncers on a night out, like actual hired bouncers and bartenders. So, and we have wristbands they have to identify who's 21 and who's not 21. So you can only be served alcohol in eating clubs if you're 21 or older. So very safe environments. We want to make sure our students are having a safe environment. Princeton is not a dry school, but it's very safe with alcohol consumption in general. Any questions about that? Okay, that's good. And then the last part of this stop is First Campus Center. So we're going to talk a little bit about First Campus Center, starting from the bottom to the top. It's kind of just like a hub for social activity and like club life on campus. But the very bottom, we have these things called late meal. So late meal is 2 additional meals to that unlimited dining hall plan that I talked about earlier. It's late lunch and late dinner. So basically, if you miss lunch or dinner for any reason, you're studying, you're asleep, you have practice, you honestly just want a second lunch or dinner because you're still very hungry, there's late meal. So they serve like chicken tenders, pizza, sushi, salad, whatever. It's all included in your dining hall plan. So we don't really expect you to pay an additional thing unless you like get 5 different meals from late meal and you probably will. They give you like a budget for each meal. And so people will go there and pretend to do homework, but really just stand and talk. It's really nice. And people will just kind of grab a meal at like 10 p.m. at night, hang out with their friends. It's a huge social spot for the first years and sophomores on this club or on this campus. Then if you go up 1 level, you're looking kind of at just the second level for us. There's our mailbox center. We have our information technology center. And then just tables and places for people to sit, study, chat, and also for clubs to kind of promote their things. We have over 700 different clubs here on this campus of all different things. So we have clubs that do more occupation-based clubs. We have more cultural-based clubs. We have clubs that are literally just kind of random. So you might join like Black Pre-Med Society, but also there is Bad Movies and Cheese, where they watch bad movies and eat cheese. So there's like a ton of different clubs around campus, and I'm sure as you've heard at other schools, if you can't find a club that you, that's in our 700 clubs, you can start a club, and that's actually very true. A group of my friends freshman year started a Annex Investment Capital Club, and they get funding from the school to kind of invest in stocks and bonds and all of those things that are
That's good.
but yeah, so that's kind of the second floor. And then if we go up one floor, we're now looking at like a lot of our centers on campus. So Princeton hosts a very diverse group of students on this campus, and we want to make sure that everyone feels like they have a space and a place for them. So on the third floor, we have our McGraw Tutoring Center, which I'll talk about. We have our undergraduate student government, our accessibility center. We also have our gender and sexuality resource center. And we also have the PACE Center for Civic and Service Engagement. And then down the street with all the eating clubs, there's the Carl A. Field Center for Minority Voices. So there's a ton of different spots on here, and we want to make sure that all of them are kind of making sure and like hosting spaces for students who are maybe of one identity, who feel more comfortable spending time with those of that same identity and having those conversations. But additionally to that, they also host conversations for all students to kind of join and make sure that we're having an open line of communication about what it means to be of one identity on this campus and also just in life. Any questions about that? To McGraw Tutoring Center, which is one of my favorite things about campus. So we have an honor code here on campus, and a part of our honor code, or a violation of our honor code, is to get third-party tutoring. The reason is because we think that some students, we know some students can afford third-party tutoring and some students cannot afford third-party tutoring. So we want to even the playing field, making sure that people don't feel uncomfortable with that. So instead, McGraw Tutoring is where you go. There is a student there who has taken the class, who's got an A in the class, and who we'll sit there and walk you through whatever problem you're having. We'll give you study tips, materials, etc., to like make sure that you feel prepared for whatever test or homework assignment, which is really nice. I also think it's really nice to have a student walk you through things you're taking the class, because sometimes it's really nice when someone understands your struggle instead of a professor who's might have maybe been teaching this for like 25 plus years, who doesn't really understand why you don't get derivatives and tangential lines and all of those things. Any questions about like resources and diversity here on campus, all of those. Okay, we're gonna walk this way then. There is another place for academic help, also by students. So you can take your paper at any point that you're at, whether that's brainstorming or final edits, and they will help you with next steps. It's really nice. I will say every paper I've taken to the Writing Center has gotten a better grade than those that have not. I don't know what to do here.
Yeah, it just fell.
It fell? Okay, I'm just gonna pick it up. We'll go in the next trash can that we see. So it's not just on the ground. Yeah. Is anyone here a sports fan? No one? Really?
Oh yeah,
Not at all?
of course.
Guys, maybe one?
I haven't seen Oppenheimer. We don't like
We love tennis.
Don't like sports, you don't like Oppenheimer. Okay.
No, we
I
love
can get behind
tennis.
it.
We love
Okay.
football.
We have tennis and
Soccer.
football lovers. I'm down with that. Okay. As a Texas girl myself, I'm a football lover. Am I allowed to say that? I haven't been to a football game in a long time, but I'm going to one tomorrow. It's homecoming.
Watch your step.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But on Princeton's campus, we have 3 different types of sports. So we have our D1 varsity level sports. Around 1 in 5 students, or 20% of our students, are a D1 varsity level athlete. So that means that you will have a lot of interactions with D1 varsity level athletes, which is honestly really nice. It does encourage you to go to their games because you're just kind of randomly in class with them, you're friends with them. It's great. Then we have intramural and club sports. So intramural sports will play within the university. So it could be like eating club versus eating club, res college versus res college, friend group versus friend group, whatever. And then we have our club sports, which are kind of a step down from D1 varsity level sports, and they play different clubs of different universities kind of nearby. But around 1,100 students are active in our club and intramural sports. And again, you can be kind of as active or as inactive in sports life as you'd like to be. I will say that our intramural sports get very intense. You would think that just because it's within the college, like no one really cares. It's a huge thing. People really get into it. People wear their shirts. Like I am spike ball champion. I guess like it's some people's fun facts. Like honestly, really huge thing here on campus. This lovely place right here is our newly renovated Princeton Art Museum. It'll be open in about 7 months, maybe. Hopefully, they said they would be done before I graduate, which will be a little bit quicker than 7 months, but I don't believe them, so we'll see. Anyways, it is really nice because so at Princeton, we had a really cool art museum, but it can only hold around 2% of our art kind of collection. So we were like, let's build a new art museum. It's really cool. It's our first 100% sustainable project here on campus.
Be careful.
Thank you. And additionally, what's really cool about it is that our art museum collection is very, very like intense. Right now, if you go to the Louvre, there is a piece that says on lent from Princeton University. So as soon as that building opens up, that piece will come back from the Louvre and it'll be in our art museum, which is really nice. And when you think about like museums as highly established as that, they have art pieces, and so we have pieces that like those museums would like to have it in their collection. But I was talking about sports, and now to talk about a little bit about Dillon Gym. So Dillon Gym is our newly renovated gym. There's going through actually more renovations. It's free of charge for all students. We have a pool, we have spin classes, yoga classes, Pilates classes for everyone who's on that wave right now. Boxing classes, weightlifting classes, and also just like you can just go weightlift, you can go cycle. We have cycling, so you can do all those things by yourself if you're not a class person. And then there's Jadwin Gym for our athletes, which is way further down than Dillon. But
And I saw on the drive here, you guys have like a canoe.
we have a boathouse. So we have a crew team here on campus. This weekend is the Princeton Chase. It's one of the largest regattas in crew, I guess. I haven't gone. I keep saying I'm gonna go. I told my crew friends that I would go on Sunday, so I kind of have to uphold to that one. So I'll tell you guys, if you come back, I'll know what a regatta actually is now. My assumption is schools, so there's a lot of games tomorrow. So we have a soccer game, which is also their homecoming game. The Princeton football game is the homecoming game. There's a water polo game tomorrow. What else? There's cross country championships tomorrow. Yeah, there's a lot of sports. So if you were a sports person, you can wake up in the morning, go to cross country championships, wait a couple hours, go to, go to football or water polo, and then you can go to the soccer game. So if that appeals to you at all, it should be fun. But one of my favorite traditions at Princeton is that if our football team, I'm gonna not yell over him actually.
What's Aggies?
They're from Texas. That's Texas A&M.
Oh, okay. I was like,
I gotta be real.
yeah,
I know.
for sure. I'm like,
Great
Aggies.
school, I'm kidding. I have a lot of friends who do Texas A&M. But it's so funny. I thought no one's gonna know. One of my favorite traditions. So if our football
Wave,
team
guys.
both Harvard and Yale, we'll have a bonfire kind of right there. We unfortunately lost to Harvard like last week, 45 to 15.
Oh,
I'm really salty about this. I can't. But I did get a bonfire my first year, which is really nice. So we'll go their entire 4 years without a bonfire. Yeah, I hope so. It's nice to have one. You guys can come closer, but again, not mandated. It's okay if you don't want to. But this is our last stop of the tour. I'll just kind of talk to you guys about like why Princeton, and give you my why Princeton. So I'm from Texas, like I've said a couple of times, and as we found out from the Texas A&M team. But I wanted a school, when I was picking schools, I wanted a school that was a little bit further from home. I wanted to try a different state. I wanted all 4 seasons. I regret that a lot. Hate the winter. I wanted somewhere that was academically rigorous. I didn't know what major I wanted, as you guys saw by my progression of majors, and somewhere that I could go where it's like whatever major I chose, I knew was going to be a well-established department. I wanted somewhere that was pretty, and I will say I definitely succeeded there. And I wanted somewhere that honestly just felt kind of castle-like, and this is pretty much it. Just kind of like why I picked Princeton. But why Princeton is such a special place in my heart and will always have a special place in my heart is completely different. It's the things that I didn't know when I was picking schools that makes Princeton so special. Princeton is genuinely one of the only places where I feel like every single person on this campus and who's been on this campus is cheering you on. Like, it could be your next door neighbor that you've never met, your best friend, or it can be an alumni, and it's as easy as picking up the phone and making a call, and they will be there for you. They want to hear about your experience, why you picked Princeton. They'll talk to you about their experiences. I think it might be the only school where the alumni are more excited about this school than the actual students here. And the students here are very excited about this school, so that just goes to show. We have reunions every single year, and around 40,000 alumni come back every year. It's the second largest Coors Light event in the nation every year, if that tells you anything. It's really fun. But that's just going to say that like Princeton is a place where honestly everyone's kind of cheering you on and supporting you. But it's also a place where everyone is very, very different. It comes from very different backgrounds. One of my favorite things about Princeton is just like those random conversations with your friends debating things as serious as what's going on in Palestine and Israel, or the current election going on right now, or things as unserious as like the color of spring and the color of fall. So honestly, like you can talk about things as anything. It's like those 2 a.m. conversations that really get me going, because it's just like hearing what people are passionate about. I will say that as a senior, there's been this new phenomenon I found where you'll talk about something and someone will say, oh my gosh, my senior thesis is about that. And then they'll talk about it for like 35 minutes. I was that person earlier today, to be honest with you. But it's really fun to just hear everyone's passions and what drives them and what sparks their wheels. But I also will say at Princeton, I think it's one of those places where no one's competitive. We all see the belief that like you're gonna get to the solution so much better and so much quicker if you work together than if you work separate, kind of competing with each other. I always get the question, is it a competitive environment? It is genuinely the least competitive environment that I've ever occupied in my entire life. I've never seen people, it just got really loud. I've never seen people who like collaborate as much as Princeton students do, as well as Princeton professors do. And it's also a place where you're not just like another number or another person. You're someone that everyone kind of cares about. One time I was in class and I thought my professor wouldn't notice that I was a little sick and I didn't talk. I was kind of down that day. And I got an email after class. I noticed you didn't talk today. You seemed a little like sick. I said like, I hope you're doing well. And here's all of my notes from lecture today. I hope like you feel better, but we can meet if you want to. And that was like, honestly, I didn't even know he knew my name. I didn't know anything. It's like kind of a crazy thing to just see someone, not even like I was expressively putting my head down. I wasn't flowing, I wasn't throwing up, I wasn't sniffling. I just was a little more quiet than typical. And just to have someone care about you that much to like make sure you're doing okay is really nice. And that's such a common phenomenon here at school. I honestly can't go like a day without seeing someone and then not having like 5,000 people text me or email me asking me if I'm okay, which is really nice, truthfully. I also will say it's one of those experiences where school is hard. Like any college you pick is hard. I'd be lying to you guys if I said college wasn't hard, but Princeton makes it so worth your while because you're doing something that interests you. You're figuring out what drives you, and you're doing all that with the support of this university, the alumni, and all of your peers around you. And you really get to pick like what you're interested in. And I promise you, Princeton will throw money your way for like no other. Like if you want to do something, they will figure out a way to make you do something. They'll find the funding for it, and so will the alumni. It's honestly one of the best experiences I've had. I can't imagine walking out the gates very soon. I've made a lot of decisions in my 21 years of life, and I think the best one I've made so far is definitely picking Princeton. So that's a little bit of why I love Princeton. I could go on for hours about why I love this school and why I'm really sad to leave very soon. Oh no, that's so sad. Anyways, thank you guys for coming on my tour today. I hope I got to share a little piece of why I love Princeton with you and you got to see it a little bit through my eyes. I will stay behind, or I'll walk you guys to where we start the tour. If you have any questions, if anyone wants any food recommendations, let me know. If anyone wants my email to ask me questions later on, also let me know. But thank you guys for coming on my tour today.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
Okay, you can walk this way. Casual, it's a Princeton signature. This place called Olive. It's like Mediterranean food. It's really good. And it's down Witherspoon Street. There's no places to like sit inside. You can sit outside, which is a nice day. And you can grab like a quick bite, which is very casual. There's taqueria, which if you're into like a Chipotle Mexican vibe, that'll be really quick and casual. If you're going for a more like sit down, but like it's not nice, like super nice, there's La Mezzaluna, which is very popular. And there's also Mediterranean, is one of my favorite spots, like Mediterranean food. And then if you're into sushi, there's this place by the church called Adjutant, which is delicious. It's this very small, like box-like place like, underneath. That's really good.
Oh, nice.
What other places? I'm trying to think.
Is there any Jamaican restaurants?
Not that I'm aware of on campus. I think there is a restaurant a little further off campus, but I don't know the name and I haven't been.
Okay.
But I'm sure if you looked one up, you will see something nearby-ish.
Cool.
But there's a lot of really good food.
Yeah.
It's actually the thing I've said I was going to miss the most, which maybe felt bad, but I love the food. So good.
What building is this?
This is Witherspoon Hall. It is actually one of the first dorms.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the lady Veronica, she was saying that there was no AC in the building that was across from where we were doing our little briefing before the tour.
Yeah, so there's pretty much no AC anywhere on this campus, which is a very different experience coming from the south, where AC is blowing at full speed at all times. Instead, you can pretty much open your window and it'll be kind of nice. Like it never gets so hot to where it's overwhelming. The time where it's the most problematic for me that we don't have AC is like September. That's it. Every time else it's pretty nice. You open your window and it doesn't really get that hot in your room.
I'm so sorry, I missed this position. The language, I never liked it. I was like, she probably said it. I have to be looking at my phone. The language, is that like all 4 years or one semester? What's the language?
Weight loss mastery. So it's like you have to get to what we call proficiency level. It's typically 107 level. So if you start with if you start with like 100, 101, I think is what it is. It'll be all 2 years, so 4 semesters of a language. But typically people come in with some kind of like knowledge in that language, and they'll have like 2 to 3 semesters of that language instead.
Got it. So, but like if you're starting from scratch, that means
Then you,
four.
you'll do 4 semesters of that language. You're starting from scratch.
Like if you say, like for example, you say French, like they don't do AP French ever. So like, is it only like getting a 5 on the AP French test?
No,
like,
so we'll have a placement test that she can take, and if she is actually like you're actually verbal or not verbal, like you can conversation or whatever in that language, you can still place out of it without the AP level.
Okay.
It is definitely possible.
Okay, that's helpful.
Tell me, what do you like about Princeton? Did you enjoy the tour?
Yeah.
What did you like about the tour?
I mean, the campus is really pretty, and the tour was very like thorough.
Sure. Yeah, Mackenzie did a great job, right?
We didn't like walk through some of the like
The buildings?
actual, like buildings.
And
But she did explain a lot of stuff.
okay, that's true. So, do you see yourself here?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. And it has a neuroscience major.
Yeah, and you got to have Mackenzie, who was your tour guide, as a neuroscience major.
Yeah.
Tell me if that's not like serendipity at its finest, right? Look at this one. She's doing like a freaking handstand. Okay, focus, Kimberly. Back to this. All right, so I know you said strike 3.
No,
But do you take off your strikes?
I took that strike.
Okay, you took it back.
Okay, actually, I take all of them. I was
Ah,
being a bit like,
judgmental.
yeah. Because it was like annoying getting here.
Yeah.
But like overall, the tour was good.
Okay, great. I just love it. Don't you love it?
Yeah.
I love it. Amazing. And now the next tour is what?
Either Geneseo or Yale. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's either
Geneseo
I think it's
or
Yale first and then Geneseo.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's probably, yeah.
All right, cool. So out of Pace, NYU, and now Princeton, I saw that face. So out of Pace University, NYU, and now Princeton University, what are your ranks?
Pace, simply just because they actually did like a real tour.
Okay.
A real tour.
That's really important to you.
Princeton is second.
Okay.
And NYU is third.
Okay, great. All right, perfect. All right, so stay tuned, y'all, while we take you on this magical journey. And she is running away like a real true college student. Signing off, guys. Bye.